I think I should welcome her properly. You know, I find it interesting that all of these girls who are in all of these online beefs all got either a project coming out or threatening to put a project out. It's wild. It's like they're taking all of this weirdo gossip and, they're doing it for clout. There is no Diddy tolerance.
Yo, this was never supposed to happen like this. Not on some random night. No countdown. No warning. No PR rollout. No crisis team waiting in the background ready to clean it up. And honestly, that's exactly why it hit so hard. Because when Jaguar Wright went live, nobody thought they were seconds away from witnessing the kind of moment that doesn't just trend, it destroys people. Most viewers were expecting the usual. Noise, a rant, maybe some shade, maybe another chaotic headline. But what they got instead felt like someone flipped a switch. The vibe changed instantly. And the scary part? Her face didn't look emotional. It didn't look impulsive. It looked locked in, like she knew she was holding something that could ruin multiple lives in one move. And then she said it. Not hinted, not implied, not maybe. She straight up claimed she had something the public was never meant to see. The comment section didn't explode, it froze. Because this didn't feel like gossip. This didn't feel like tea. It felt like the internet collectively leaned forward at the exact same time and whispered, "Wait, are we really watching this happen?" And then the visuals appeared. A luxury setting, soft lighting, two people standing far too close to explain away as coincidence. Nothing explicit, nothing graphic, but everything was screaming. The body language, the comfort, that unspoken intimacy that doesn't exist unless it already existed somewhere else first. And that's when it stopped being messy internet drama and started feeling like betrayal playing out in real time. Because buried inside all that chaos was another story, the one nobody was talking about loud enough. Somewhere out there was a woman who had already risked everything. Her image, her loyalty, her name, believing she was standing in love, only to allegedly discover she wasn't standing beside a partner. She was standing beside a lie. And the tears didn't trend because they were dramatic. They trended because they were real. Pain you can't fake. That ugly kind of heartbreak that makes your chest feel hollow. Soon the denial posts went up. The excuses started flying. People tried to spin it into bad timing or taken out of context. But the internet noticed something disturbing. The receipts weren't slowing down. They were stacking, layer after layer. Like somebody finally cracked open a double life that had been hidden too long. And then came the part that made it worse. Because what if this wasn't a slip-up? What if it wasn't a one-time mistake? What if this had been planned, protected, and hidden for years until Jaguar chose the one night no one could control the narrative? Because once something like this leaks, there's no stuffing it back inside the box. And that's the truth people aren't ready for. This isn't the end of the story. This is the moment everything starts collapsing.
What did Claressa do? She decided to become a part of a farce that is destroying what Black family looks like. Like, the simple fact that she thinks any of the stuff that she's doing, going back and forth with Remy, when Pap is still married and they have a small child, and now she talking about she want to have babies. Why? Why does somebody as punch drunk as you want to have a kid so you can be around more people that are smarter than you? Like, it's just no.
What made this moment different wasn't just the allegation. It was the timing. Jaguar Wright didn't schedule a live. She didn't tease it. She didn't warn anybody to tune in. She didn't even give the internet a chance to prepare. She simply appeared, like she had been waiting for the exact second the world would be most vulnerable to chaos. And in today's attention economy, that kind of silence before a storm is never accidental. It's calculated. At first, viewers treated it like background noise. Another late night rant. Another unpredictable moment from someone the internet has learned to half listen to while scrolling. But within seconds, something shifted. Jaguar wasn't rambling. She wasn't emotional. She wasn't spiraling. She was locked in. Her posture was steady. Her eyes weren't wandering. Her tone was controlled in a way that felt unnerving. Because people who are bluffing usually talk too much. People who feel exposed usually over-explain. Jaguar didn't do either. She didn't come to vent. She came to deliver. Instead of chaos, she framed the moment like a prosecutor. She made it clear what she was about to say wasn't gossip, wasn't confusion, and definitely wasn't an accident. According to her, this wasn't a rumor. This was a pattern. A double life. A situation hidden in plain sight and protected by one thing only: silence. And then she made the claim that detonated everything. She alleged she was sitting on visuals involving Papoose and Tiki. Visuals, she said, that were never supposed to leave a private space. But she didn't describe them at first. She didn't rush. She let tension marinate. She let the comments pile up. She let the audience talk themselves into panic. It was psychological warfare. And when the screen finally changed, the reaction wasn't loud at first. It was stunned. Because what viewers described didn't look like something caught by accident. The setting didn't look improvised. Soft lighting, clean angles, expensive decor. The kind of environment that suggests comfort, not coincidence. Nothing explicit appeared, but the closeness was unmistakable. The body language wasn't casual. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't just two people talking. It was the type of intimacy you don't build in one night. People started typing the same words over and over like they couldn't believe their own eyes. Wait, no way, is this real? Within minutes, clips were ripped, reposted, edited, and reshared across platforms. Twitter threads formed in real time. TikTok edits started circulating before the live even ended. The moment wasn't just going viral, it was mutating. And then Jaguar dropped a sentence that locked the entire narrative into place. She insisted this wasn't a misunderstanding, not a mistake, not something taken out of context. In her words, this was evidence of a double life. And that single phrase flipped everything upside down. Because once you label something a double life, suddenly the past isn't the past anymore. It's evidence. Every silence becomes suspicious. Every denial starts sounding rehearsed. Every "we're good" starts feeling staged. As the live spread, the focus shifted away from Jaguar and onto the people trapped inside her claims. And that's when the most painful part surfaced. Claressa Shields. Sources say Claressa wasn't prepared for what she allegedly saw circulating online. This wasn't gossip whispered behind closed doors. This was a relationship being dissected publicly, frame by frame, comment by comment, like a sports replay. When Claressa appeared afterward, the strength she's known for was still there, but it was cracking. Her voice shook. Her eyes told the story before her words did. She didn't sound furious. She sounded devastated, betrayed, exhausted in a way that only comes when you realize you've been fighting for somebody who wasn't fighting for you. According to Claressa, she had chosen Papoose openly and publicly. She had taken stands that cost her relationships, reputation, even peace. And now she was allegedly realizing that while she was defending love, she may have been defending a lie. That moment changed public perception instantly. This stopped being a messy triangle and started looking like emotional fallout. Fans weren't just reacting anymore. They were re-evaluating timelines. Old interviews resurfaced. Past posts were re-examined. People started asking the same question in 100 different ways. How long has this been going on, and who knew? Meanwhile, Jaguar wasn't backing down. She escalated. She implied this wasn't impulsive behavior, but a calculated pattern. According to her, Papoose allegedly had a history of positioning himself wherever opportunity lived. First with one woman, then another, always aligning with visibility, influence, and advantage. And then, halfway through the chaos, Jaguar delivered a statement that reframed the entire narrative. Not as cheating, not as drama, but as something darker. Like someone had been playing chess while everyone else was playing love.
You plant. You ain't nothing but a plant. And I'm gonna prove it. And that's why you're with Pap. Because he's a plant. I'm about to bust you open. See, I figure I'm gonna give you something relevant to go back and forth about. so you can mind your business and stay out of this family that's being ripped to shreds by the media for that little girl to see. I'm not doing it for them. I'm not even doing it for their fake black love campaign. I'm doing it for real black love. Because our people should not be this invested in seeing the desecration of black families. So since you want to use it for clout, little plant, greatest plant of all time, I'm not calling you no goat. You the goat. The greatest plant of all time. Probably not even that. Let's give you something relevant to talk about. I think I know what she's afraid of. And I'm about to expose it on the pods.
In this segment, Jaguar stops playing around and goes for the jugular. She directly labels Claressa as a plant, not just someone caught in feelings, but someone strategically placed, emotionally maneuvered, and used as part of a bigger plan. Jaguar alleges that Claressa and Papoose were either being used or willingly participating in a manufactured storyline designed to look like organic love. And that accusation alone changed the temperature. Because if Claressa wasn't the girlfriend, but the piece on the board, then suddenly the entire relationship stops looking romantic and starts looking staged. Jaguar claims this is why certain fights never happened, why certain questions were never answered, and why the public image stayed so clean no matter how messy things felt behind the scenes. According to Jaguar, this wasn't romance. It was positioning. She claims Claressa was being protected from certain confrontations, steered away from certain threats, and kept inside a storyline that was carefully controlled, like she was being guided through a script rather than living real life. Then Jaguar drops the part that made people uncomfortable. She insists she knows exactly what Claressa is afraid of. And in Jaguar's words, that fear is the reason everything is unraveling. After this interview segment circulated, the conversation shifted again. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It became a question of control. Because if Jaguar's claims were even half true, then this wasn't a love story gone wrong. It was a performance that went off script. And once that idea grabbed the internet, everything accelerated fast. Jaguar escalated again, alleging there were voice notes, private audio exchanges that captured intimacy contradicting the public narrative. Soft laughter, affection, little inside jokes, promises that didn't match the story being told anywhere else. Fans who listened to those alleged clips didn't hear acting. They heard comfort, familiarity, the kind you don't build in a week, the kind you don't fake when no one's watching. And then came the final escalation of this segment, the kind that makes people stop scrolling. Jaguar claims there were private messages, WhatsApp chats, where plans were discussed. Not emotional confusion, not regret, not heartbreak, strategy. She alleges discussions about when to walk away, how to frame the exit, and how to control the narrative once the damage went public. And when that claim hit, the internet didn't just react. It hunted. People started digging harder, connecting dots, lining up timelines like investigators. That's when Papoose moved fast. He denied everything, called it fake, a setup, a lie meant to destroy him. And for a brief moment, the denial gave some people pause until they noticed something that didn't sit right. The receipts weren't stopping. Every denial was followed by another clip, another screenshot, another question that didn't have a clean answer. And that's when Claressa's silence became louder than words. Sources say she's torn between defending what she believed was real and accepting that the truth might be darker than she imagined. Publicly, she's trying to look strong, but privately, this is eating her alive in a way no edit, no filter, no caption can fix. Because this wasn't just a breakup playing out online. This was public betrayal, public exposure, and the violent collapse of a carefully managed double life. And as this section closes, one thing becomes undeniable. This story isn't cooling down. It's heating up, because of what's already surfaced is this damaging. What happens when the rest comes out? By the time the internet finished processing what it had already seen, one thing was clear. This story was no longer about a single leak. It was about power, control, who was really running the show. As clips kept circulating and denial posts went up, people started noticing patterns that felt almost too polished. The responses felt rehearsed. The timing felt calculated. The silence from certain corners felt deliberate. And then a different question began spreading in comments and forums. Not what happened, but who's in charge. That's where Jaguar shifted gears completely. Up until this point, many viewers dismissed her as explosive but chaotic, until part 2 unfolded, and her claims became more focused, less emotional, more surgical. She alleges the situation wasn't a messy triangle. It was a managed operation where image mattered more than truth. And that's when she dropped a word that changed everything. Handler. Jaguar claims Claressa Shields wasn't just emotionally involved. She was being handled. And that word hits different, because a handler isn't a lover. A handler is a controller. Someone managing access, exposure, decisions, and outcomes. Jaguar alleges this relationship wasn't built on mutual vulnerability. It was built on positioning. She claims Claressa's public image was being shaped carefully. Certain confrontations were avoided, certain threats never reached her, and none of it was accidental. It was insulation, intentional. And if that's true, it explains a lot. Why difficult questions never landed. Why timelines felt inconsistent. Why public moments felt staged instead of spontaneous. Jaguar alleges Papoose played a central role in the structure, not as a man caught in chaos, but as someone who knew exactly how to move through it, when to speak, when to vanish, when to let someone else absorb the fallout. And that accusation struck a nerve, because the internet has seen opportunism before, but rarely this calculated. Fans started rewatching old interviews with fresh eyes. Old statements that once sounded romantic now sounded rehearsed. The words felt recycled. The promises felt copy-pasted. And then Jaguar delivered a twist that made the entire thing feel like a cycle repeating itself. She claims this wasn't the first powerful woman tied to this exact formula. Before Claressa, there was Remy Ma, another public narrative, another loyal woman, another storyline where loyalty became a shield and visibility became currency. Jaguar alleges a formula. Attach, absorb credibility, shift positions, repeat. As this theory spread, Claressa's silence grew heavier. Sources say she wasn't just dealing with heartbreak. She was dealing with the realization that her strength might have been used against her. That the very traits that made her powerful were the exact traits that made her valuable to someone hunting protection, leverage, and image control. And then Jaguar delivered a segment that cemented everything. Not as drama, not as gossip, but as a war for narrative control.
And whoever he's reporting to, because I'm telling you now, after this relationship farce business with you, trying to transfer the Black Love brand to you and him, he's your handler, girl. Wake up and smell the coffee or the smelling salts. Because that's what you responded at and you get knocked out and you get the smelling salt. Wake up. Somebody get this hoe the smelling salts. He's a swish.
Damn.
I just wish Remy would tell the truth about it.
Well, Remy did say
Tell
something.
the truth about it, Remy. Tell the truth that you figured out that this nigga was your handler. Everybody knows that he's down with the Masonic temple. He's doing the handshakes. He's making the symbols. He's Shluminati up. If he's lost control of Remy, all they gonna do is give him another person to handle. And now here you are, Claressa, with no real boxing record, and you already looking just a little bit punch drunk.
In this segment, Jaguar goes further than allegations. She goes into structure. She asserts that Papoose isn't a romantic partner at all. He's a handler. And that word doesn't just sting, it redefines everything. Because once you hear handler, the relationship stops sounding like love and starts sounding like management. Jaguar alleges the so-called black love narrative wasn't real romance. It was branding, a carefully packaged image designed to transfer legitimacy, marketability, and credibility. According to her, Claressa isn't being loved, she's being guided, steered away from real threats, kept inside a controlled storyline where major choices aren't made with her, they're made for her. And then Jaguar drops the warning that made even her critics pause. She claims that as Claressa becomes more emotionally vulnerable, manipulation becomes easier, because heartbreak doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your judgment. It makes you defend things you would normally question. It makes you fight for people who are quietly positioning you as a sacrifice. Jaguar's claim is brutal. This dynamic benefits one person financially and reputationally, while leaving Claressa exposed to public humiliation now and eventual abandonment later, when her usefulness runs out. And once this segment circulated, the reaction was instant and completely divided. Claressa supporters were furious, accusing Jaguar of cruelty, disrespect, and overreach. But others noticed something uncomfortable, something that made the handler claim harder to ignore. Nobody actually dismantled it. No receipts proving otherwise. No timeline that killed the theory. No direct rebuttal that made the accusation collapse. Instead, the responses stayed vague, emotional, defensive, loud, but not specific. And the internet understands something about truth. When a claim is false, people rush to destroy it with facts. When a claim is dangerous, they try to bury it with noise. As the handler theory gained traction, attention shifted to Techie's role. Viewers started asking how long she had been the picture, and why her presence seemed to appear right when things started destabilizing. Jaguar insisted it wasn't coincidence. She called it replacement. According to her, when one narrative starts cracking, another one is already prepared to take its place. Not because hearts move fast, but because strategies do. And then came the part that changed the entire tone of the internet, the financial angle. Jaguar claimed influence isn't just emotional, it's monetary. She alleged money moves quietly while attention stays loud. According to her, the longer Claressa stays distracted by love, defense, and loyalty, the easier it becomes to redirect resources, decisions, access, and opportunity without resistance. That allegation shook people because at that point, this stopped sounding like gossip and started sounding like exploitation. Sources say Claressa is now caught between two realities: the image she defended publicly and the truth she may be confronting privately. She's still trying to appear composed, the way champions do, but those close to her reportedly say the emotional toll is undeniable. Meanwhile, Papoose maintains denial. But here's what's unsettling. He denies everything broadly without clarity. No timeline, no clean explanation, no detail that actually shuts the door. And one thing is true about the internet. In the vacuum of answers, speculation doesn't die, it multiplies. As this part closes, one truth rises above the noise. If Jaguar's claims were completely false, they would have been dismantled by now. If they're even partially true, what hasn't surfaced yet could be devastating. Because this story isn't about love gone wrong. It's about power disguised as protection. And the internet isn't asking, did something happen anymore? They're asking, how long has this been happening? And who benefits when it stays hidden? What started as a shocking live has now hardened into something the internet refuses to let disappear. Clips aren't circulating like rumors anymore. They're being archived. Screenshots are getting time-stamped. Statements are being compared. Silence is being measured. And in that silence, a pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Because if this were just chaos, it would have burned out by now. If it were just gossip, the internet would have turned on Jaguar. But it didn't. The attention stayed locked on one terrifying question. Who benefits when everyone else breaks? Sources say Claressa has been trying to keep composure publicly, the kind expected from someone who built her life on discipline and control. But behind the scenes, that control is reportedly fraying. The pressure isn't just emotional, it's reputational. Every appearance, every post, every pause is being dissected like evidence. And the hardest part? She didn't just defend a relationship, she defended a story. A story Jaguar Wright claims was never organic to begin with. As days passed, Jaguar didn't retreat. She didn't soften. She doubled down, not with theatrics, but with warnings. Warnings about money influence, and what happens to people who confuse protection for love. And that's when this phase crossed a line from exposure into collapse. Because it stopped being about who cheated and became about who controlled the exit. Online observers began noticing something disturbing. Claressa absorbed the emotional blowback, while others stayed insulated. No timelines clarified. No detailed rebuttals. No transparent explanations. just strategic silence and broad denials. And that imbalance set off alarms. If the relationship was equal, why wasn't the fallout shared? Jaguar's handler claim suggested a simple answer. It wasn't equal. It was managed. According to her, the moment Claressa became emotionally vulnerable, she became easier to steer. Decisions could be nudged. Narratives could be shaped. And when everything exploded, the damage wouldn't be shared. It would be assigned. As speculation grew, attention turned to money and opportunity. Not as rumor, but as motive. Jaguar alleged influence doesn't scream. It moves quietly. While the internet argues over clips and denials, real gains happen somewhere else unseen. And then Jaguar delivered a segment that many believe sealed the story's direction. A line so sharp, it didn't sound like a theory. It sounded like a warning. Like she wasn't exposed in the past. She was predicting what was coming next.
The only thing this is doing is building up a social media queue.
Yeah.
So that she can move off into becoming a social media influencer, and they can use her name as the greatest woman of all time to sell whatever brand and push whatever agenda that they want, and she'll be able to cash out of the game before she loses what's left of her mind.
Wow.
But that's okay, because every time you get punched in the head and you get a little slower, that's great for Papoose. Because now he don't have to explain to you how he's robbing you. He can just do it and notice that you'll just be sitting there, just the two of us, and he be gone with the damn money. You better watch your pocket. Stop playing in that man's wife's face.
In this segment, Jaguar stops talking about emotions and goes straight for what she says is the real danger. Money, reputation, leverage. She warns Claressa to watch her pocket, claiming emotional distraction creates the perfect environment for financial and reputational exploitation. Jaguar alleges that the more vulnerable Claressa becomes, the more accountability disappears. And when accountability disappears, someone else gets to walk away clean. She frames it like a setup. One person exits with leverage, the other exits with damage. And Jaguar insists the public humiliation isn't accidental. It's structural. Designed, built into the way this entire situation is functioning. Because in Jaguar's view, this isn't what happens when love falls apart. This is what happens when a relationship is built on control, not equality. After the clip circulated, the reaction shifted sharply. The conversation stopped being about whether Jaguar was too harsh and started turning into something more dangerous. What if she's too accurate? Because nobody addressed the warning directly. Nobody explained the imbalance. Nobody clarified why Claressa seems to be carrying the emotional and reputational weight alone, while the other side stays clean, protected, untouched. And in that silence, the internet did what it always does. It filled in the blanks. Observers began pointing out that the narrative had quietly pivoted. The same voices who once celebrated Black love suddenly started speaking in vagueness. The language changed. The warmth disappeared. The certainty faded. What remained was distance. And distance is loud. Distance is telling. Jaguar didn't stop there either. She widened the lens and challenged the industry itself. She questioned why so few people were willing to stand up for Remy Ma amid the chaos. Why the silence from voices who usually rush to comment? Why a woman with a long, visible legacy could be publicly disrespected with no real consequence? That question didn't just land. It echoed, because silence in moments like this isn't neutrality. It's alignment. And alignment reveals exactly who the system protects. As the days passed, Claressa's situation appeared increasingly precarious. Sources say she's caught between two impossible choices: defend a narrative that's cracking, or admit she may have been maneuvered into one. Either path costs her something. And that's what makes this collapse brutal. It's happening in public, without mercy, without an off switch. Every attempt to move forward drags the past back into view. Every denial reignites questions. Every new post becomes evidence. Meanwhile, the person Jaguar warned about remains unscathed. That contrast is the most damaging part of all, because when only one person bleeds, it forces a brutal question nobody wants to say out loud. Was that always the plan? Jaguar's final message in this phase wasn't celebratory. It was cautionary. She didn't claim victory. She claimed inevitability. According to her, stories built on control don't end in closure. They end in abandonment. But abandonment doesn't always come with screaming, cheating texts, or dramatic exits. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like distance. Sometimes it looks like one person moving on with their image intact, while the other is left explaining what happened like they're on trial. As part 3 closes, the internet is no longer divided about whether something went wrong. The division now is darker. How much of it was intentional? Was this a relationship that collapsed under pressure, or was it a structure designed to collapse someone else? One thing is clear. The fallout isn't theoretical anymore. It's visible. It's emotional. It's irreversible. Because once control gets exposed, it loses power. And once the mask slips, it never fits the same again. This wasn't just a scandal. It was a slow motion unraveling. And if Jaguar Wright is right, if this was always about leverage, then the most dangerous part of the story may still be ahead. Because collapses don't announce themselves. They happen quietly, right before everything changes.